All right, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Real Estate Rockstars. Today, I am thrilled to have guest Joe Rockey join us. Just a little bit about Joe before we begin our episode today. Joe is a serial business creator, world-class consultant, international best-selling author, and hosts a cooperative training on cruises en route to the best beaches on the planet. Elite Business Conversations, Joe's consulting firm, transforms businesses to thrive without the owner's involvement. His international best-selling book, Casino Sales Master, proven system to beat the odds in sales and life, and accompanying coaching course are teaching businesses worldwide to sell in the correct way. By bringing relationships as integral portion of the sales system, Joe's clients cut through the omnipresent residue of the 1960s to present sales method. In Joe's own words, sales will heal the world. It's without further ado that I'd like to welcome Joe Rockey to the show. Joe, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. And that's absolutely right. Sales will heal the world in so many ways. It'll be an unfounded change. And that's what I'm helping to do, one little conversation at a time. If we can sell better, we will make the world better.
That's right. That's right. And those that think that sales is one part of daily life, regardless of what your profession is, I don't care if you're even a doctor, a lawyer, everyone's selling at all times. You're selling, at least you're selling yourself, right? To get the next job or the next gig or whatever that might be. So I'm really excited about this topic, Joe. It's one that's near and dear to my heart as well. So maybe if you could just start, share with our listeners out there, how did you really get into this field?
In the sales, so I got into sales. I've been selling since I was 16. At least professionally speaking, on a commission-only basis. Yeah.
And what was your first sales job at 16? What were you selling?
Well, I was selling knives, man. I was one of the Cutco knife salesmen. One of the few who actually was successful at it, but nonetheless, I was one of them.
MLM and direct marketing. I love it. I have my own experiences with that as well. And also for the listeners out there, if you haven't experienced it or if you've heard all the rumors of it's a pyramid scheme and all that, I'm sorry, but every corporation in the world is pyramid too. So let's be real for a minute here. If you could characterize it though, Joe, why choose such a topic that, I'll be honest, gets a lot of flack, right? Sales has for quite some time gotten a lot of flack. A lot of people are anti-sales. They are repelled by sales. It's that old mantra of door-to-door salesperson gives I think the sales gives the sales profession a bad rap. So what was it about you that made you decide to really turn it into a career?
So when you look at what sales is and what it should be, it's a culmination of relationships. And to your point of it getting a bad rap, there's a very natural human element and reason why. And it's because inherently when you're involved in a sale, some person's getting something and some person's getting something else. And there's a human nature instinct within us all to get the most for yourself and to give the least out. It's quite frankly, most of the problems of society stem from that very root human nature problem. To further emphasize how old and how historic this problem is, sales is one of the very few professions that even the Bible hates on. Like, this has been going on since the dawn of time. And the reason is to use our modern day trope, you're not getting off this used car lot unless you're leaving in the car I want you to. And that is the impression that most everyone has with sales. So what got me into this was it's an opportunity to not only do it correct, that will change your world, but it'll change the world of everyone else around you. Because when you're doing sales correctly, it's not about a script. It's truly about how do you form a relationship and get that person who's interacting with you to want to see you succeed because they know you're going to help them succeed. And this notion of win-wins has really fallen out the wayside when your entire metric is gauged by how much fame and followers you have. There's not a whole lot of room for win-wins. So I think that now more than ever, there's a need to teach it correctly. And since it is so scarce in terms of selling correctly, you really can stand out immensely when you do.
150%. And I'm so glad you brought up all those points. And I think some of it, if you look at it, we're a digitally driven society. Well, I would even argue soon to be an AI driven society, right?
Yeah.
We're certainly on our way there. And when it comes to that sort of thing, there's a lot of people out there that'll say there is no replacement for the human touch. And I personally am a proponent of that. I believe that there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for automation, leveraging AI, leveraging social media would be another one that I kind of throw in that same category. But at the end of the day, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And I'm sure many out there have heard that. So I'd love to hear a story from you, Joe, and I'm sure our listeners would as well, of just if you could share a story about where you had a very skeptical prospect that you were dealing with and how you were able to overcome that and really turn that skeptical prospect into a raving fan.
Yeah, I mean, if I'll dive right into my own book in the keystone title sequence of it, which is Casino Sales Master. And the reason isn't because I get casinos to buy from me in terms of selling corporate products to casinos. It's I walk into a casino floor, the one place on earth that every culture agrees is built to take your money. And if you step back and think about the severity of that question, every culture agreeing on something has like 4 things on that list. Like, we all breathe air, we all need water, casinos are evil. That's basically the list. And in doing so, I literally broke this down. And in terms of the specific dynamics of the question here, the prospect is the dealer. The dealer being a person of, why should I care about you? Why should I give you the time of the day? Why should I worry about you walking away here a winner? And converting them into not just them getting a joyous experience out of it, not just them getting a win out of it, but obviously fulfilling both sides of the transaction to the point where when I come in the next morning, they are telling their coworkers, you need to get that guy over here to your table. He will literally make you more money in 20 minutes than we make in 2 months. And that is, obviously there's a lot of details that we can dive into if you want. I don't want to have one story dominate the call if you don't want it to. But nonetheless, the point is that it can easily be done regardless of how spectacle, regardless of how history shows this is going to be a waste of my time. I shouldn't care about you. You're not going to care about me. Why should I care about you? No matter how much of that is there, if you use your relationship skills correctly and hone them, people will want to see you succeed as much as you want to see them succeed. And that's unfortunately a transactional way of describing it, but there's also a very lot of science to show that your reptilian brain starts there. And then you obviously improve upon it from there. But if you even get that out of this call, no matter how skeptical your prospect is, if they can see that you actually genuinely care about them, you will move a mountain. And you will be able to basically turn a call from objections about the product into logistical objections about how can they get it, which is a completely different form of selling. And that's where most of us should be when we are selling correctly.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And I love the adage, out there, which is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Really. Yeah. That's really what you're speaking to here. And in real estate,
to dive even a little deeper on that adage, 2/3 or maybe even 3/4 of the personality types out there don't even really care what you know. They don't.
that's actually
1/4 that does like to infinity and beyond. But the rest of us, you're
they
going
just want to know that
care
you
about
care.
me. I know you care about me. We're going to trust your judgment.
And that's, I mean, and so obviously we're a real estate focused podcast, but we bring in, guests like yourself from all different walks of life, all different, industries and professions and focused skill sets and whatnot. the reason I do that is, so that our real estate listeners out there, whether you're an investor, a buyer, a seller, an agent that's looking for that golden nugget, you understand some of these concepts, which are transferable through life, right? They really, truly are.
Yeah, my career started in real estate. I mean, that's actually the third chapter of my book is how this is all applicable within the real estate space. And if you're selling correctly, especially if you're an investor or a wholesaler out there, walking into someone's house and just land basing it with everything that's broken is wrong is a guaranteed way to fail. And I see so many guys that come in, think they're going to get the next wholesale deal by tearing you down, tearing the value of the property down, then giving a lowball offer, and then being surprised why they don't get a call back. And 3 weeks later, they're looking for a different job because, well, no one wanted to sell me the house at a price where I could sell it to an investor to make it work. Because that you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
If people believe you and trust you, normally the price of the sale shouldn't be what's coming up. And that's completely contrary to the way real estate agents are built. I get that. I'm an investor. That's my background and where I come from. But that's the reality of it too, though.
No, I mean, I see it all the time, right? And I see it with bad agents because, I happen to, and I'm pretty proud of it, right? Have a team that I, am responsible for their success, about 35 agents right now, and growing by the week and by the month. And
Awesome.
and if I wasn't honest with them and walk them through these things that you're talking about, Joe, I am confident that they would fall flat on their, not all of them, but some of them will fall flat on their face, right? Because there's so much garbage out there about how to do something and approach something in real estate. And I'm more of the, just do your homework, right? Do your homework, do things right, be kind, right? And if you take a potential seller through a proper valuation of their home and you do so in a kind way, you'll probably earn some rapport and trust with them, and then in the end you'll end up getting the listing or the sale from it too.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're in the game enough that you have a pretty good feel of what your jurisdiction is, obviously every brokerage in the country has a little bit different size, but your area, basically 5 feet into that house, the realistic amount what it's going to sell for. Everyone knows it. It's just enough experience in the game. You know what it is. Now, obviously, you walk down to the basement and the foundation's crumbling. It's going to change it. But based upon the norms, you pretty much know what it is normally before you even show up, to your point of doing the homework. The real answer isn't telling the people, hey, I'm going to sell this thing for 50% more than any other agent, because quite frankly, you can't control that anyway. It's really about setting their expectations correctly for what a win is given their situation. And this is one thing that the government gets wrong all the time is the win isn't always about the dollars and the cents. Sometimes the win is, I just need out of here now. Sometimes it's timeline dependent. Sometimes it's, I've seen so many different examples that go around it. It's only after we find a place for the dog, or it's, the new owners have to take the current tenant and they have to take them at this terms. These are all different things that exist that aren't really dollar and cent dependent. And I think that is one of the things that get people so much in trouble. You start negotiating before it's the right time, you might as well just waste your time, because that's what you do.
Yeah, your time's already out the window. You basically where. So I'm curious, Joe. There's so much complexity to this type of profession, and I know you have a couple different lines of business, but if we can focus more on maybe the consulting piece of what you do, what do you consider as the most rewarding part of that profession?
So in terms of the consulting profession, what I find to be the most rewarding part is that we specifically focus on businesses that would die if the owner left. I mean, for lack of a better way of saying, if the owner walked away for 3 weeks, the business wouldn't be alive when they came back to it. Those are the businesses we focus on. And the reason it's so rewarding is that the economy will die if the baby boomers businesses don't continue. And a lot of them are getting to the point where it's like, you know what? I just want to retire. And even if I don't get a check on the way out, I'm done.
Yeah.
And knowing that I'm doing my part to keep their businesses going, which keeps obviously their employees hired, their clients satisfied, etc., is incredibly rewarding because that's what we do. We create 100% absentee owner businesses. That's what our clients get from us. So it's not we don't sell money. We're going to give you time. That's ultimately what you're going to get from working with us. And like I said, it's remarkably transformational. And every time I tell this to someone, they just think, "Oh, you're just putting AI down the thing everywhere." It's like very rarely do we use AI because it's all about relationship-driven solutions. And to give it just a little fast forward is every business comes down to only two questions. What is the relationship that you have with your prospects and or clients? And what is the relationship that you have with your employees? And that relationship that your business has with their employees is not the same as the employee's relationship with you. So if you can solve those two questions, it doesn't matter whether you're a Fortune 500 company or a company that's just starting out today. Those two questions will dictate the success of any business on this planet.
It really will. And you spoke to something that's really important, especially for our business owners out there, which is, I call it the founder's trap. You may have heard it referred to that as before, which is a founder, an owner that can't get out of their own business. They can't get out of their own way. And the reality is, if you truly want to be wealthy isn't just about having the biggest bank account out there, although that does help. It is about being able to, as I call it, separate yourself from your generation of income, being able to separate yourself from your business, being able to know that your business will continue to grow and thrive even in your absence, and then giving you that time back, which I'm so glad that is one of the focus of your business.
Yeah,
it's so important, Joe. It's so important.
It absolutely is. And there's a lot of every client has a different reason for why they're not there. So I can't say there's a universal answer, but there are personality type trends that you see a lot. Micromanaging tends to poke its ugly head up a lot, and a lack of trust. Those are the commonalities. Roughly 2/3 of the clients experience at least one of those. And that's the reality of it is you're right. You shouldn't have to be involved in every decision, every process. And if you created a system correct with your employees, they should have both the freedom and the incentive to knock the ball out of the park. And Gallup just released this study that said only 23% of the American workforce is actually engaged at work. And 51% of the total workforce is looking to work somewhere else. So to go further into that, employees are incredibly failing at what they are supposed to be doing. And to me, that is the true meta reason why AI is taking over this world, because people are failing at their engagement with their employees. I don't think I'm going to fail at engagement with this computer. It doesn't care if I'm into it. And that's the real reality. No one wants to come out and say it, but it is. It's a failure of relationships across the board. And to go back to the very first question you said, why would I dive into the muck of horrible relationships? Because if you don't, the problem is going to keep growing ever and ever. And I know how to solve it. So yeah, part of this is to say that we've created great personal benefits. We've created a great consulting firm. All this stuff is true. But the reality is, if you're not out there trying, you're not going to do anything about it. And then you're just going to be complaining about the same problem 3 years from now, 6 years from now, et cetera, et cetera.
I love it. Now, I'm going to ask you, so if we take the opposite side of that coin, which is, you spoke on the most rewarding, what's the most challenging part of what you do?
Well, the most challenging part of what I do is, in all process, it's the same thing as most business have, is I like doing sales. I hate doing marketing. I hate doing prospecting. And the cool part is that no personality type is built for all three parts of the revenue chain. And there's only 3 steps in a revenue chain, by the way. It's what do your prospects find you? How do they find you? When they're with you, are you able to convert the sale? And then are you able to deliver after the fact? Again, your
Masterclass
absolute
right
most
there.
compliant personality can do 1.5 of those. Unless, of course, you cheat and then you make your product the other one of those. Like marketing companies do this a lot. My product is marketing. Well, then that's cheating. You're just really good at marketing and you're just doing the same thing twice. You argue I'm doing the same thing with sales. There's all any person on the planet can only do 1.5 of those at most. Most people can only do a percentage of one of them. So that's just the way our personalities are built. So my weak spot is I've always hated prospecting. I always will hate prospecting. And that's why I do prospecting in a very different way. I go and have fun conversations, let people know about us, and then they can come to me. So yes,
Wow.
I get to simultaneously achieve my mission of telling people how to get relationship skills to be better, but also kind of do some prospecting at the same time.
That's awesome. And it's awesome that you recognize in yourself what you're gifted at, what are your gifts, and what are the things you just aren't gifted at. And no matter how hard you try, you just would not be great at. And we all have to acknowledge that in ourselves. That doesn't mean you don't try to sharpen the saw. Of course you do, right? But you have to know that about yourself, especially if you're looking to grow and scale your business to the next levels. That's what it boils down to. You put good people around you that really balance you out, that help you out, and clearly you've done that in your business, Joe.
Absolutely. It's one of the things I've did with selecting partners for my businesses. I almost all of my partners, and this is true with most successful partnerships, my strengths are their weaknesses and vice versa. And that way there's no second guessing each other. There's no coming up with different answers. It's your weak spot is my strength. You lean on me and I lean on you and vice versa. That's how you build a partnership successfully. And in the world of real estate, it's incredibly important because we see these crash and burn all the time, normally
Mm-hmm.
because most people want to do the same thing. And that's the issue in the first place.
Yeah, you got too many, chiefs and not enough Indians, or the reverse of it, right? You got too many
Well,
people.
we all want to cash the check that comes from the tenants, but none of us want to actually be in charge of selecting the tenant and then taking them to the magistrate when the time may be. And we wonder why we haven't been paid for the last 3 months.
That's funny. That's funny.
True.
All right, so we're gonna pivot into our kind of our final section here, Joe, which is like I said, I'm gonna toss a couple zingers across the plate here. And we'll see how you do with them. So the first one is this. Let's say it's your 80th birthday. Who is there? What is going on, and why?
So my 80th birthday would also be my 50th wedding anniversary. So
Oh.
she better be there. Start with that. And it's going to be essentially, as I view it, the my version of another wedding that day. So that would be the answer. So we had 300 and some at the time. Obviously, by virtue of life, some of the older people who were old at my wedding, we had to be replaced by their grandkids. But that's who it will be. It'll be all the family around having a 50th wedding anniversary to celebrate what the original one was.
Oh, that's sweet. I love hearing that. And by the way, you're not alone. Many of the people and many of the guests on here, they talk about wedding their spouse, and whatnot, and the importance of them being there. But that's cool. Is it actually on the same day then?
It's not on the same day, but it's the core. It's close enough. I told her I got married when I was 30. I told her, you get me twice as long as you didn't have me. So I'm making it to 90. You're stuck with me the whole time. So when you throw out 80, it's really easy to do that math.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You've got a lot left in you at 80 then.
I will, yeah.
That's great. Okay. All right. Second question for you. Imagine it's your last day on Earth. You can only preserve three items in your time capsule. What are those items and why?
The first thing is going to be the playlist that I have made for every single one of my kids and my spouse. And I recommend everyone to do this. This is one of the drills that we teach our clients in our coaching course. Once a month, I leave an audio note in my phone to each of them individually, directly, talking to them as when they're going to be adults. So for the kids, they're going to get it the day they graduate from high school. and it's talking to them that day. For the ones who are already adults, it's talking to them as if it's 10 years from now. And the entire point of the exercise is to tell them both things you can't tell them today. Like when you're 13 and you walked in with your first boyfriend and we hated them, we couldn't tell you the 13-year-old version of that, but we can tell the adult version of you that when you're 18. And then same with, it's all about visualizing what you want that relationship to be. So that's what I'm putting in there. It's that is the culmination of all of my wisdom and ideas and what I want them to be.
That is a phenomenal, not even wonderful. It's a phenomenal exercise. I really highly recommend it. I've done something similar, by the way, going through Tony Robbins courses, and we even did, handwriting letters, basically, which is a similar concept. But I love the audio note. I mean, that is so powerful.
Yeah, and for the recipient, there's a little extra element to it too. And you guys can think this back to your own childhood. Most of us will visualize our parents, even though intellectually we know they aged every year we aged. Most people will intellectually see them somewhere when they were like when we're in between kindergarten and third grade and in high school. And the reality is that transformation that we all go through in day-to-day processes, they miss. And that's the reality of it. So yeah.
Wow. Powerful stuff out there. I hope you guys are taking diligent notes today, because this has been an absolute masterclass by Mr. Joe Rockey. All right. Last question for you. What is your definition of a real estate rock star?
Of a real estate rock star? Well, that's going to be someone who's taking care of their clients and doing it in a way where, again, they're getting success just as much as you are. And they are prepared with the expectations of the reality of their circumstances. So we know that every transaction is different. That's just the way it is, because every people are different. So did you appropriately prepare them for the expectations and then deliver upon them? That's what a rock star does.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Joe, where and how can people find and connect with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is going to be Elite Business Conversations. If you're looking for the ultimate employee benefit to fix your relationship with your business, your employees, that's Elite Business Cruises, which we didn't even talk about here. And then the book is Casino Sales Master, which you can find everywhere where books are sold.
And we'll be including some details on that in the links below. And you that have seen the promo for this show will see that he has a really kind of fun, snazzy promo picture where he's like a casino dealer. So Joe, can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for coming on today, sharing all your nuggets of wisdom with our listeners out there. For those of you that tune in regularly, we'll be back on again next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central on the Real Estate Rockstars. Thanks and have a great day, everybody.